Hello and welcome to a chilly early March yard walk. I'm going to walk around a little bit today and look at a few things, but it's just kind of a chilly morning, and I think I'll bring my plants out right now, the potted plants. That's the fuchsia, the geraniums, those guys. I think, looking at the forecast, we're not supposed to have any frost for the next week at least. So it's a good time to set the pots out here on the front porch. So I'm going to do that, and we'll do a little bit of front yard thing. There's a couple I want to talk about. The crocuses are up, and there's a couple jobs that need to be done. There's always jobs that need to be done in a lawn, in a yard like this. I don't worry too much about it because there's no way I could ever do everything that I wanted. So I just work in the yard when I feel like it, or when I think it needs a lot of attention, and then otherwise most of the plants have to fend for themselves. So, well, let's get started, and again, thanks for tuning in. It's springtime, which means it's time for spring cleanup, or almost. It's March anyway, so it's almost time. This area here needs some help. There's a lot of these stringy native blackberry kind of plants that have just crawled all over here and taken over and covered up my pretty little rocks, and there's an invasive blackberry there growing in there. So I'm going to need to put on some thick leather gloves when I go in here and just start. I think rather than cut this back, I'll just go in here with gloves and just start ripping stuff out of the ground. It's in the base of these 4 Doug fir trees, which I kind of leave. Can't really mow in that little depression there, so it's just kind of a natural water gathering area, I guess, for the trees. And then there's the one the one evergreen huckleberry there, which I'll keep. These California lilacs, I've read in books that they want to grow tall, and you can see this one here has grown very tall. They say in the books they only have like a 5 to 10 year life, which would tell me that this one should be, like, dying soon, but it seems pretty healthy. Apparently they don't like to be trimmed too much, but I may take out some of the thinner branches. You can see here, this is a branch that I had apparently trimmed a long time ago, because it's growing up into the grass there, and when I did that, it looks like it caused a lot of suckers to grow out of the branch, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I might just leave it this year. We'll see. I might come in here and cut a couple of these branches back, but it may, I may just enjoy it as long as it lasts. Like I said, it should be about at the end of its life, and then I'll have fun trying to get that out of there. It's early morning here, and the crocuses haven't opened yet, but you can tell by the color that they're up. The crocuses remind me of my mother, actually, because when I was young, our family, the mom and dad and my brother, would go out in the spring and look for pasque flowers. This was in South Dakota. Pasque flower is the state flower of South Dakota, and it is a crocus. It looks something like these crocuses, but it's a little hairier, and it has a sweet smell, a very nice smell, which these guys don't have. But it's just a single color. It's just kind of a light purpley color, and it would usually, these come here in my yard. These are out now. This is early March. Looking back at some previous videos, it looks to me, in pictures I've taken over the years, it looks to me like these come out here on this site last couple weeks of February, first week of March, sometime in there, depending on the year. And in South Dakota, the pasque flowers, we would go and look for them on Mother's Day. And sometimes on Mother's Day, they would be ready in South Dakota, and sometimes they wouldn't. It depended on the year. But I always think of my mom with getting a little bouquet of pasque flowers. The pasque flowers grow on land that hasn't been, at least we used to think this is true, and it seemed to be true, is they grew on land that had never been plowed. Or, of course, that hadn't been overgrazed. So we usually went to hillsides or a hayfield or something to look for the pasque flowers. Some of my, I think, either they're escaping and they're getting away, which I think is great. Some of these here, I think, are naturalizing and becoming more and more, which is great. Or else there were some bulbs here before I transplanted this California lilac in here a year ago, because you can see here there's little guys popping up all over the place. This is a spurge that not an invasive one, but it's just a regular spurge that got away. It used to be planted down here, but down here it died because it got too dry for it in the summer. And I don't know how this one ended up here, actually. That's, Kathy and I came out here yesterday and we're walking around looking at the crocuses and seeing, which colors and where they had come up. And, if you have a bad memory like me, you get surprised every year, and things change too. Here's some little crocuses right there up here on the hill, but you can see most of them are growing down here. So I've got some dark purple and some light purple, and there's a few yellow, and there's some here that have stripes, and a nice addition to the springtime hill. My intent here was to put them in the lawn and hopefully let them naturalize, and over time hopefully there'll be more and more. I may, if I get around to it later this fall, maybe I'll get some more bulbs and stick them around in the grass here somewhere. Maybe put some more down here, although I seem like I already did that because there's some there. So this is a barberry. It gets some nice little red berries. It's got these absolutely horrible thorns, and it grows quite readily. It's quite solid, but it gets very tall. And I planted it here a long time ago, and I've recently come in and thinned it. I've cut back about half of it, actually, and I'm planning to actually take it out completely. As you can see here, it shaded out my nice ornamental conifer here and killed all the lower leaves, although there's some life coming back. I think if I take out the barberry, it'll come back. The barberries are used, a lot of times people put them in areas where they want to block traffic because nobody can walk through them. And they do get some nice pretty leaves, so they're not, a completely, they have their use in the landscape, but here I kind of put it in here as a specimen plant, and it wasn't a good choice, or at least I didn't put it in the right place. Maybe if I put it someplace where like I said, I didn't want people to go or walk, then maybe that would have been better. But so later maybe I'm going to go to the nursery, and I get to go to the nursery and decide what I want to put in this spot. This is one of the many spots that over the last few years has kind of gone to weeds. So I came in here and cut back the woody plant that was growing there, some kind of a tree had started, and got some old cardboard from the house of old things that we were going to recycle, cardboard that we were going to recycle anyway, and laid that down there to kill the grass, and then brought in compost and filled it up. What happens over the years, the soil that I filled here settles, and then I get, you know, this big gap here below the rock wall. So it's always good to fill in a little bit. And what I'm going to do here when it warms up a little bit more, I've got some dahlia bulbs that I had picked up at Costco, and so I'll put a few of those. I'll put those in this area here for the spring. I want to look around the corner here. This is snowberry, but when I look around the corner here, this is the manzanita, and I covered this guy in a show, this little fella here in a show a few years back when I had planted it, and they talked about, there's an old show, it talked about manzanitas, and I just thought I'd check in and see how it's doing, and it looks like it's doing pretty good. It's starting to tip a little bit to the left here, but that's because that's the direction toward the south where the sun is, but it looks quite healthy. Looks like it's getting you know, pretty strong leaves, so I'm happy. It's going to get quite a bit taller here, which is okay. I don't really have this area next to it here. This has some dahlias that I put in here last year. I put them in last year, but I think I planted them a little late. They never got very tall. I see there's something coming up here. Some bulb is sprouting. I'm not sure what that is, but we'll find out. This looks like it might be a bearded iris here. We'll see if that ever blooms. There's some dahlias from last year back there that need to be cleaned out. Like I say, there's always things to do. But, yeah, one thing at a time. I haven't had breakfast yet, so...